Welcome to Straight Talk and Retirement, your no-hype source for financial advice and making informed choices about your retirement planning. Get on the phone to talk today at 314-931-5877 or text your question to 84126.
The opinions voiced in this show are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, and financial advisor or tax advisor prior to investing. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Private Advisor Group, a registered investment advisor. Private Advisor Group and JBL Financial Services, Inc. are separate entities from LPL Financial.
Now, here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Well, hello, St. Louis, and welcome to Straight Talk on Retirement. You're live and local, St. Louis's favorite financial call-in show. I'm Jeff Lapidus, president of JBL Financial Services. Our offices are located in beautiful, sunny, not freezing anymore, downtown Olivet, Missouri. I am a 40-plus year veteran of the financial services area, a fee-based financial planner and wealth manager. And I'm joined, I love this, we just have like a full house.
We do have a full house this week.
It's wonderful. We've got my favorite, oldest prodigal daughter, Aaron Lapidus, 10-plus year financial advisor.
Let's not
manager.
age me, please. 9+ years.
9+ years, sorry, babe.
Thank you.
We also have Robert Markham, our insurance, life and annuity insurance specialist, and Frank Ellis, man of the hour.
Man
Good morning.
of the hour is right. Because
Frank.
guess what today is?
He's Frank, the Medicare man. That's right. We're gonna be talking about Medicare. We're gonna actually monopolize the first hour. But before we do that, we do remind everybody that we do help our clients
Make smart choices about their money. The way we do that is by designing a game plan, a written step-by-step strategy, a real game plan that has several goals in mind.
First is to preserve, protect, and prudently grow the assets our clients have taken their entire lifetimes to accumulate. Second is to deliver a reliable stream of income, one that they can count on, so they can do all the things they'd like to do during retirement.
And third is cost-effectively addressing their healthcare needs, like helping individuals enroll in Medicare and choosing the right plan to couple with their Medicare coverage.
And then when they're done enjoying their assets during their lifetime, we show them how to pass them on to the people they love, whether it's their spouses or children, grandchildren, churches, or charities, whoever it might be, with Uncle Sam at the tax courts taking a big bite out of their money. And as their wealth managers, Aaron and I watch their money every single day to make sure they're staying on track. And that's why they call us the retirement coaches. Ken, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We're going to talk a little bit about financial matters in hour number 2, but this is an extremely exciting time.
Not only is this an exciting time, but I believe this is one of the first times that October 1st has fallen on a Saturday.
Yes, and Frank showed up an hour early, so woohoo! He's
ready
chomping
to
at the
go.
he's chomping at the bit, and it's really fun to have our whole crew here, and that's what you get when you come visit us at our offices, as you know, in all of that. If you want to come in for a coaching session, we'd love to see you, whether it's for financial and or talk about Medicare, right?
That's
and that's what we're
right.
going to talk about today, because open enrollment, it's around the corner.
And the muzzle is off. Now Frank has the opportunity to talk about all of the great changes that have been made to Medicare Advantage plans this year. We've decided, and then I'll let Frank take it away, to really limit our conversation to one of the biggest changes that we see happening this year that's going to impact some of the largest plans in the St. Louis area. But every single week, we're going to bring up a new important reason why it's important for you to check your Medicare coverage every year during open enrollment.
And the beauty part is that you don't have to watch Joe Willie on TV.
I don't even know if they're going to let him on TV
I don't
anymore
know if
after
they- I
that
don't
spectacle last year.
They haven't stopped the commercial. It seems like they just haven't stopped.
That's true. But also, Frank mentioned this the last time he was on the air with us last week, that CMS, the Center for Medicare Services, has added some new requirements for phone call conversations. They need to be recorded, and all of that actually derived out of those commercials, unfortunately.
Well, the nice part is that when you come to us, and you get straight talk on these matters, you get exactly what you deserve.
Right,
Which
which is
is
all the
information,
information
right.
you need to make an informed decision. Frank, tell us the most exciting thing that's happened during open enrollment.
All right. Well, good morning, folks. Like Aaron said, it is that time of the year. It is time for open enrollment. And what does that mean for people? That means this is the time where you need to look at your plans, look at your medications, look at your doctors, look at your extra benefits that you have on these plans, and decide whether or not we're going to be switching your plan or if you're just going to continue to stay on that plan. Like we touched base on this morning just a little bit, there's a lot of exciting stuff happening here, but we kind of want to narrow it down to what we feel is probably the most important piece of why people actually move in and out of their plans. So one of the things that's happening for 2023 that we finally get to announce this morning is that there have been 500 plus positive tier changes within your Part D medications. Very exciting stuff. So what does that actually mean for you with it being a positive tier change? Is this a positive or a negative thing that we're looking at here, having all of these positive tier changes? How can this affect your prescription coverage or your Medicare Advantage plan, of course, with those formularies? How much of a difference can this make within your plan? Are my drugs on this positive tier change list? And is this something that, you can avoid hitting that donut hole with having all of these positive tier changes? So basically, what a positive tier change in the world of Medicare is Medicare has a 5-tier drug system, okay? Your tier 1 and tier 2 are your generics. Normally, those don't have copays.
Right.
Your tier 3 and your tier 4s are your name brand drugs. And normally your tier 3s are going to be about $47 and your tier 4s are going to be about $100. And then your specialty tier is just 33%. And that's just going to be your infusions and injections. So a positive tier change would be like a tier 4 medication turning into a tier 2 medication.
That would be a big jump.
Huge jump, because then essentially you'd be going from paying $100 to potentially $0, and we're going to dig into that. That's why this stuff is so important.
Right.
Okay. Another example of a positive tier change would just be like going from a tier 3 to a tier 2, or even your tier 2 to a tier 1. Okay. So what does this actually mean for folks out there that are on these HMO and PPO plans, that are on these prescription drug plans? Mm-hmm. Well, it means potentially savings. Lots of savings.
And that's really important because just as a side note, and I know Frank will get into more of the details about the individual benefits, but I have noticed that in the St. Louis, Illinois area, people tend to focus very much on the Medicare Advantage plans, what their maximum out-of-pocket is. And that's important because that is your maximum liability on the medical side, but the prescription side of your coverage does not flow into that maximum out-of-pocket number. Those two stay separate. And so what I like to call, what Frank's really kicked this off with, is our usage benefits. Every single month, what do we know you're going to do? We know you're going to fill your medications. Most likely you might have a doctor visit that'll have a copay. So those benefits that lead up to the maximum out of pocket is really what Frank is focusing on now. And I think that's really important because those are the main benefits that you're going to utilize throughout the year. A couple years ago, Aetna put out a study that showed that less than 4% of the people on their Medicare Advantage plans ever hit their maximum out of pocket. So really focusing on the places we know you're spending money and being able to create savings there will really maximize that savings, as opposed to saying, oh, well, the maximum out of pocket went down. Well, if you didn't hit it last year, you didn't really save anything if it went down this year either, right?
That's right. So those maximum out of pockets, very important here. Those are, if you, from January to December, okay, Medicare, your health coverage is going to say, okay, what is the absolute maximum that this person would be allowed to pay or responsible to pay for the entire year. So those max out of pockets, when we're talking about these, I think it's just always important to note with your HMO options for next year, the lowest max out of pocket for An Aetna plan, you're looking at $2,800.
And that's great because I know you have a pretty good example of a potential tier change from Aetna that you wanted to dig into a little bit more.
Yep, absolutely. So what does this stuff mean for you? We talked about savings, okay? And how are we coming up with these savings? Okay, well, you're going to be having less copays for your medications with these tiers coming from a tier 4 to a tier 2. We talked about a tier 4 last year. You're looking at $100. Well, there have been 76 prescription drugs that have switched from a tier 4 to a tier 2 for next year.
And luckily, we're not going to read all of them aloud to you today. So that's a really important reason why you want to give Frank a call or send him an email so you can have your drug list checked as a entry point into determining if it makes sense for you to make a change.
Absolutely. So less copays, sometimes no copays, and then also looking at potentially avoiding those donut holes and things like this. So we're talking about just less out of pocket for your prescriptions and for your Medicare Advantage plan right off the bat for next year. So kind of what I wanted to do is I just kind of wanted to break it down, and let's take a look at this year for 2022, a couple of tier 3 drug medications, and what they would be like for next year, 2023, with this new positive tier change.
All right.
Okay, so for instance, I have a client, Peggy. She's on our Aetna HMO plan, very popular plan here in the St. Louis area. We'll be spending a lot of time talking about that plan, as well as a few other plans. But I kind of want to focus on this Aetna HMO real quick, just to give this example.
Great.
So Peggy, client of ours, she's on the prescription drug Eliquis. Okay. That's a pretty common drug, I feel like, in Medicare.
Yes, it's been, and also this is a particular prescription that, at least in my 9+ years working with Medicare enrollees, is one that is expensive. You know, it's been a stumbling block for a lot of people, and it's really nice to see that this is a potential tier change for the upcoming year. Absolutely.
It's expensive. And a lot of people, I find, hit the donut hole when they have Eliquis paired with other medications.
Got ya.
Okay, that's just a prescription drug that can help prevent blood clots. But Aetna had that as a tier 3 for the year 2022.
Okay, so that means that Peggy was paying about $47 a month to fill that prescription?
Yep. So she would pay $47 a month at Walgreens, $42 if she were to go to her preferred pharmacy, specifically under that Aetna plan, which would be CVS. So a little bit of savings by using that preferred pharmacy there.
Which is another side note I'll just throw in here. That's another really important reason to work with a professional like Frank, because he can tell you some of the tricks to continue to save money, even if, you know, we can't change the medication tiers, but maybe we can save you $5 on that copay if, you know, you're well versed in the best way to use your plan.
Absolutely. So Peggy, she's on Eliquis, paying $47 a month every time she goes to the pharmacy and picks this medication up, okay? And keep in mind, every time she's making that $42 or $47 copay, that's getting applied towards that number, that special number for the donut hole.
Right.
Okay. So the higher your copay, the sooner that you're potentially going to hit that donut hole. So $42 to $47 a month under the plan this year. Now, Aetna announced that there was about 319 tier 3 medications that moved to a tier 2 for 2023. Me just speculating, thinking that Eliquis should definitely be on that list of a positive tier change. What that would mean for Peggy is her copay would go from $42 to $47 to $0.
Well, that's like $600 a year of savings. That's pretty impressive.
It is. It's good stuff. I think that with these 319 tier 3 changes going to a tier 2 specifically, this is going to potentially blow the roof off of plans, and you're going to have people that are coming onto these plans and just having just exponential savings on their medications for next year.
So, Frank, you went to all of the meetings about all of these new policies from United Healthcare, from Anthem, from all of the major carriers, Aetna as well, in the St. Louis area. Are any of the for all of the individuals that are already on Aetna, they're going to get the benefit of these tier changes without having to do anything. They just get, on December 31st, they paid $47, and on January 1st, they're going to pay $0 just by allowing their plan to renew.
Aren't we going to get some complaint phone calls for people paying less money?
We never get any. We do get the joyful phone calls when people are like, "Oh my gosh, why is it free now?" Which
That's right.
is very nice.
Well, let me just input here. I mean, this savings is huge. And when you consider the cost of everything else going up, to be able to take this money and really leave it in your pocket, to be able to use it on other things, is fabulous.
It absolutely is, and that's what was going to lead me to the next question. Were any of the other insurance carriers in the area making as many significant tier changes as Aetna this year?
They all love to be competitive with
Right.
each other. I'll say the other carriers definitely made some tier changes, but not to the volume that I've seen Aetna make this year with 500 plus positive tier changes, 319 moving from a tier 3 to a tier 2, and another 76 or so moving from a tier 4 to a tier 2.
And those are the two most important changes because that's going from paying copays to not paying copays. And we do have quite a bit of time in the show, but like I said, we won't read all of those prescriptions. So it's important. It's definitely important for you to check, especially if you're not utilizing an Aetna policy. In the upcoming weeks, we'll definitely talk about United Healthcare, Humana, the other carriers that are available in the area, and what you as an individual already enrolled in one of those policies might want to take a look at. But, it's definitely an important thing to look at right now. That would be a primary reason to make a change.
Well, how do we get them to call Frank?
How do we get him to do it? Well, I mean, he just gave us all this great. He just gave out all this great information. He can call everyone can call the office 314-863-0008, and Kelly, our office manager, will set up a day and time for you to meet with Frank. We'll send out a medical questionnaire, just your prescriptions and physicians, so Frank can be prepared prior to your meeting to say, this is what you're paying now, this is what we can have you paying in the future. Maybe it makes sense to make a change. Or you can always send Frank an email, Frank Lin at jblfinancial.com.
Or third way, they can go to our website and hit the Contact Us section,
Didn't
send a
even
little
mention
note,
it.
give us
That's
a
right.
little info, and we'd love to hear from you. And, it's so important that these things happen. And Aaron, you and I were talking about this the other day as you were discussing the segment, and I just thought there are so many people out there that are our listeners. I mean, those that aren't clients of ours. A lot of them went directly, or they moved when they went to Medicare. They just chose, or they just continued with the carrier that had been for their health care. We're with Anthem, we go to Anthem. We're with United, we go to United. They're not going to tell you this stuff. Now, they're going to tell you what they did, but they're
And what
not going
they
to tell
have.
you whether somebody else is more competitive. And I would just say, being the old man on the show, which I am, okay, being in the health insurance business for almost 40 years, you got to be a detective, or you've got to hire somebody to be a detective for you, because it's like anything else in life. It isn't what you know; it's what you don't know.
And the coolest
That doesn't,
thing,
and that,
right.
and we've got,
The coolest thing is you get to hire Frank at no charge. You don't pay anything more for your plan. We don't charge anything for our services because we receive commission if you decide to work with us. So people often ask, what does this cost? And I would say, I think it's more costly for you not to speak with a professional because, like we pointed out in a few different instances already today, we have major tier changes that could create hundreds, if not thousands for some people, dollars worth of savings, because we're not even considering that some people might be on 2 tier 3 medications or 3 tier 3 medications that might come down. That's important. Also, just the knowledge of what's the best pharmacy to use to even save $5 or $6 on the medications I do have copays for.
and all I'm thinking about right now is grandma.
Oh, we already talked about her last week.
Your grandma, but I'm just saying,
Whose grandma else would it be?
well, you've got 2 of them that their biggest stop during the week is at the pharmacies.
Right.
Everybody's got a mom. Everybody's got hopefully you do, dad, etc. that are involved in this stuff. And if they are, you got to tap on the shoulder and say, "Listen, we know you're happy. God willing, at least you can be happy sometimes. And this is really your opportunity to look and to make sure that you're not spending too much. I mean, the fact is that I love these commercials. You get, you get what you deserve. I mean, what you should deserve is the best prices. But the truth is, the carriers aren't going to come out and tell you.
No.
If you're with another carrier and that isn't covering this drug in this way, they're not going to say, "Oh, by the way, why don't you just go over to these other guys, give them your money every month, etc." So, you know how to be a smart shopper. Do it. Give Frank a call, 314-863-0008, or send him an email, franklin@jblfinancial.com, or go to our website, hit the contact us section. We'd love to hear from you. And if you want to come in for a coaching session, easy to do. It's fun, it's free, and got a nice conference room, best coffee in town. Would you agree?
Absolutely. Great coffee. We're going to give you the best service. Make sure that we keep those co-pays down for your medication costs. And then, of course, always be there after we get you enrolled in the plan for those claims and any questions.
And I do have to apologize. I'm sure Aaron may have already done this, but, we are live. We're on the air.
If you have questions.
314-931-5877, or send us a text, 84126 from the text line. I'd like to suggest that we take our first break of the hour.
Let's do it.
And when we come back, we'll be answering your texts, maybe talking a little bit about fun stuff like Medicare.
Again.
Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back.
What type of experience do you expect when choosing a real estate agent?
That's Devin, another extremely satisfied seller of Lauren Risley Realty.
When I first met with Lauren and her team, I wasn't really sure what the value of my home was. I brought a number to the table that was given to me by another realtor who had evaluated my house. I was surprised to find out that I initially undervalued my home and was very interested to learn how Lauren would get the price that she promised. She sat me down and went through the current crazy market conditions and put together a strategy to get me top dollar. Even after putting this plan into motion, she got me almost $50,000 over my asking for the house, with a ton of offers to choose from.
Now really is a great time to buy or sell your home with Lauren Risley Realty. Call 314-775-0684. That's 314-775-0684. Or email at hello@laurenrisleyrealty.com.
I would absolutely recommend Lauren Risley Realty to anyone, and I already have.
Lauren Risley Realty.
Are you ready to get your yard looking great again? Call AGT Lawn and Land, a family-owned and operated all-yard maintenance and landscaping company located in Valley Park. They'll mow and trim, mulch and plant, and they offer expert landscape design and hardscapes. Now's the time to get on their list for aeration and seeding, and soon you'll need AGT for leaf removal. With AGT, quality is priority one at a reasonable price. Let's get your yard looking great. Call 314-974-3023 for a free estimate, or email them at agtlawnland@gmail.com.
Trimming that pin oak all by yourself took out the patio furniture and almost cost you your own limb. Leave the tree and lawn care to the locally owned and operated professionals at Ray's Tree and Lawn Care. Ray specializes in hard-to-remove trees, emergency damage control, and more. And they've been doing it safely and affordably for over 30 years. Call 314-821-2665. Mention KTRS and get a special Ray's discount. Offer ends October 1st.
This is Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, that you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email, jeff@jblfinancial.com, to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
Let's talk about smart choices for your money. It's Straight Talk and Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Woohoo! 929 here on the Big 550 KTRS. Talk Radio St. Louis. We got a full house today. Love that. Shoulder to shoulder. I'm not going to sing. I know they're waiting for me to not doing it today. But we do have Frank Ellis.
Waiting and wanting to answer your Medicare questions.
Absolutely.
That's right.
And our phone lines are open. We'd love to hear from you. 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the Heating Up. Starting to get them. Text line. We want to hear from you. And Frank's going to be here for hopefully the next 27 minutes.
And I wanted to add one little bit of housekeeping regarding Medicare for all of our listeners, which is that yesterday we sent out an email inviting everyone on our newsletter list, all of our current clients, as well, our webinar invitation for October 13th. And Frank is going to go into a bit more detail on some of the big changes on each of the policies, each of the major policies in the St. Louis metro area. We'll also be able to open that up for questions as well. So you'll have a few opportunities, not to mention, every Saturday during open enrollment, we'll be here to answer those questions that you might have and bring up different and important changes that have come up. But this will also be another opportunity for you to join in. So if you didn't receive the email, you can go to our website, jblfinancial.com, click on the Contact Us section and just request the webinar email. We will send it right out to you so you can sign up.
Well, that's for our clients, for folks that aren't
Even
current clients.
Even for people that aren't current clients, they can send us an email and they can join in.
It's an open forum.
It's open because we're just going to be discussing
And
all the changes.
Unfortunately,
no call-ins on that, though.
And no cookies. You don't have to go. You don't have to leave your house if you don't like. You don't have to go and get those free milk and cookies. And the nice part is that there's no sales presentation here. We're just going to talk about Medicare, and if you care, you'll join us. We'd love to hear from you. Again, our phone lines are open, 931-5877 or 84126.
And
from the text line.
Rob, our other insurance expert, just mentioned to me, if you'd like to sign up for the webinar, just text 84126, your email address, and we'll get you added to the list. You'll get a link to join us on October 13th.
Yeah, that's going to be good stuff.
Modern technology.
That's right. And you know what, Frank? The listeners have kicked off the questions with one of the most technical possible, so I hope you're ready.
Oh, okay. Let's do it.
What is the donut hole?
Okay. All right. Well, I love answering this question, and I'll always try to answer it as least complicated as I can. So basically, in the donut hole, this applies only to your prescription drug costs. Okay, so let's keep that separate away from your health cost. When we're talking about your health cost, we're talking about going to your prescription or going to your primary care physician. We're talking about going to specialists, having MRIs done, things like that. When we're talking about the donut hole, we're strictly only talking about medication cost. Okay, so the first part of your medication cost is actually just the deductible stage. If your plan has a deductible, you pay the deductible first.
Which means it comes out of your pocket. Some plans waive that deductible so you don't even notice it. For example, almost all of the Medicare Advantage plans that we're talking about, with a few exceptions, waive that prescription drug deductible. If you're on a standalone plan, it's less expensive. You might have you might have that deductible to meet. It's about $320, right?
That's correct. And really, if you're on just tier 1 and 2 medications, you're not paying that deductible.
Right. The deductible usually doesn't apply since they had a zero copay to start with.
Yep. So after that deductible stage, the next stage that you reach is just called the initial stage. And this is just where you go paying for your copays. You just have a set copay that you pay at the pharmacy when you pick up your drugs.
Which is what we were just talking about, $42, $47, $0.
Exactly. Tier 1 and 2, normally $0, $47 for tier 3, $100 for tier 4, 33% for your specialty tier 5 medications. Okay, so once you are paying for those for your prescriptions, so let's just go back to Peggy, $47 for that Eliquis every single month. That number is getting added to the retail cost of the drug every single month.
And that's what's totaling your running tally as to how much you've spent during the year.
That's correct.
Which is how you progress through these stages. So, for example, if you had a deductible, you pay $300, you move out of the deductible phase into the initial phase. I also like to refer to it as the copay phase because that's what you're doing, paying copays. Then once that tally of the retail cost and what you've spent adds up to a specific number, which is about $4,000, is that correct?
Correct. $4,430 for this year.
Gotcha.
Once you reach that number, then that's whenever you enter the donut hole.
Now, it's very
That's
specific.
not a pothole, right? It sounds like it sounds like a cavern, but
It feels
it's really
like a
not.
crater
Okay.
for some people.
Yeah.
But
More because it's unexpected, right? Because you don't really. It's not like beep 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 beep. Oh, we're in the donut hole. You don't really know
Correct.
because they're just adding up all your costs together.
and there are blended times where you're half
Right.
copay, half whatever. So, but the general, like Frank said, we're at $4,400 in terms of once you've hit that number, and that's not just your copays. That's whatever it costs to create like whatever the retail value of Eliquis is for our example, plus the $47. You get to $4,400, and then you're in the donut hole. What happens to your benefits then?
So once you are in that donut hole and you've reached that $4,430, you go from paying that set price to now paying 25% of the retail cost of the drug.
So, as opposed to a copay, you move to coinsurance, which can be remarkably expensive if you're talking about some of the more expensive medications out there, which is usually what pushes you into the donut hole. Because for the 87% of people over the age of 55 that are on a statin, those cost almost nothing to create now. You get them for almost nothing. So that's not what's going to push you there.
Yep.
Then what happens? So how much money do you have to spend in the donut hole before we move on to the final, most exciting phase of your coverage?
So then after you reach that 4,430, the next stage is going to be the 7,050 mark.
So that means you pay $7,050, and then you reach catastrophic coverage.
That's right.
Well, what's happening is you're paying 25% of each drug
Mhm.
until that tally, if I'm right, adds up to 7,000, and
That
then
is
you go
correct.
into the last. Is that correct?
That is correct.
That is correct, but they still do take the 75% that the prescription drug company
Is paying
pays as well.
Right. So you get it's called the true out-of-pocket cost, which is what you get all of that added together. Then once you get to catastrophic coverage, what does that look like?
Catastrophic coverage, you're only paying 5% of the retail cost of the drug, so it goes down quite significantly from there.
So I think that was a really, you probably needed a pencil and paper to write all of that
Oh, yeah.
down. But the way that I most plainly like to think about it is most people are used to tiered coverage for their prescriptions only based on medication, like we've been talking about since the beginning of the show. Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3, Tier 4. Medicare tiers your costs and the drugs themselves. So you have a two-tiered system, and a lot of people are under the impression that when you enter that donut hole, you have no coverage. You just have limited coverage, and Frank does a really nice job during individual coaching sessions of going into the minutia of some of the plans will provide additional coverage for you in the donut hole depending upon your situation and your prescriptions. Some do not. Is this a thing you even need to worry about? It's not the volume of medications you're on, it's the type of medications you're on that's really going to be the number one indicator here. But the nice thing is when you work with Frank, it won't be a surprise when you go to the pharmacy and you pick up your prescription, because Frank will be able to tell you if you fill the same prescriptions every single month consistently, this is when you are going to hit the donut hole. This is when your costs are going to go up. And to be able to factor that back into your expectations, I think will make you feel much more comfortable about the coverage you have, because it's not always a new exciting adventure when you go to CVS.
That's great because I'm sick of getting calls from your grandma.
Well, it reminds me of that Domino's commercial where they're like, pay one thing on Tuesday and something else on Wednesday or whatever. That was a horrible interpretation of that commercial. But
I mean, I think it's interesting because the way you've described this, I'm kind of thinking of a glass of water.
right.
What's happening is that you've got the retail cost of the drugs the cost is just getting poured in. You're taking a little sip out, which is basically what you're paying. Once you get to a certain level, they really dump the water, and guess what? You're bigger gulping, which is your portion. We call that coinsurance. And then what happens is once they fill up the glass, what you're pulling out is just a trickle. But obviously, there's a little pain. If you think paying for drugs is painful, there's a little pain you have to get there before you get to your maximum out of pocket.
Yep.
Oh, we have this is a great one. Who thought the donut hole was a good idea? Well,
that is funny.
If you want the painful history of it, the Reagan administration really helped create what's called Medicare Advantage plans. Medicare itself has been around, obviously, since the Roosevelt administration. But what happened was during the original creation of Medicare and then the addition of Medicare Advantage during the Reagan administration, we still weren't at a place as a country where prescription drug cost had been so exponential that the government felt it needed to be a piece of Medicare itself. Some of the Medicare supplement plans had prescriptions drug coverage added into them initially. Those were stripped away over time, so enrollees were left without prescription drug coverage until the Bush administration, the first Bush administration, actually implemented Medicare Part D, which is what created this donut hole. So although it's not a perfect system,
I thought it was actually Senator Duncan
for Part D.
Yeah.
See, I always
the Duncan for the donut hole. Duncan.
Oh,
you kids are slow this morning.
Oh my!
Man.
I
You're
thought it
just
was
slow.
because I always think D for drugs. That's the
your
easiest
Your
way
mom will get
to
this joke in
think.
about 2 hours, but it's okay.
That's cute. That's real cute. But we went from with lacking coverage to now not only having prescription drug coverage available for Medicare enrollees, but what's even better is it's becoming more and more robust every year. Frank's really talking about Medicare did start before 1965, luckily for those people. But what's really important here is that it continues to become more and more robust. The costs continue to decrease, which is really nice. Frank's talking about a lot of that right now. These medications changing tiers. People think that's a administrative thing for the insurance companies, but really it's a direct benefit to you.
That's right. And we love to get more of your text messages. This is 84126. Or give us a call. Eric Gabrielson are capable. Not bad looking. He's waiting to answer your calls at 314-931-5877. How are we doing on the text line, babe?
That was it for now.
That was it for now. Well,
That was a technical question. People are still trying to do the calculus of what we just said.
Well, I will give some people some more good news.
Oh, please.
Yes, and that is the insulin savings program.
Oh, yeah, let's wrap up some more drug coverage savings, please.
Yeah. So next year for 2023, they've announced that insulin is going to be $35. I know that this was a big one for people that were on insulin. Maybe you were on one or maybe you were on multiple insulins, but a lot of folks on insulin would hit that donut hole because it was just so expensive.
So the $35 insulin savings program was actually rolled out last year, but only, I believe, United Healthcare was participating.
Mm-hmm.
And now have they expanded to all of the prescription, all of the insurance companies available in the area?
As far as I know, it is going to be all of the insurance companies
Very cool.
participating in that $35 insulin program.
And is that all insulin, or do you have to be on a specific insulin in order to qualify for the program? And also follow up, are there different companies covering different insulin products?
Yep. So exactly, there's going to be different insurance companies, and they're all going to have their own little competitiveness, and they'll all be covering specific insulins. So that's why it's important to give me that drug list, let me check that formulary, and I'll let you know which insulin or which company is going to cover that insulin best.
So I would say everyone that's listening, if you're on a tier 3 or 4 medication, you want to have your prescriptions checked this year. You want to have a review. If you're on any kind of insulin, you want to have a review because maybe you're on, for example, United Healthcare rolled the program out, but maybe they're not covering your insulin at $35, but Aetna or Humana or one of the other carriers is. So you don't want to miss your opportunity to take advantage of some of these programs that are available.
And I think what's so cool about this is, folks that are enrolled understand, there's no medical underwriting here. If you're going from one Medicare Advantage plan to another, it's going to happen seamlessly on January 1. And that's great. I mean, it really is the most consumer-friendly coverage and really program that the government gets involved with in terms of with Medicare, that is, next to sending you Social Security checks, right?
Here, you know what? These questions are just very poignant today. right to the point, as poignant might mean. Is it better to go with a PPO versus an HMO if they seem to be very similar? What is your opinion, Frank?
Well, if you might as well just go with the HMO, I believe. If the PPO and the HMO are similar, and the HMO You are going to have a lower max out of pocket. They've announced for AARP, Anthem, and Aetna no longer have to have referrals under the HMO plan, which is huge.
That is huge. So really what that means is you have to use a network. The networks are very large, but you don't need referrals inside of the network to see your specialists.
Yep.
Now, if you're traveling on an HMO, do you still have protection?
You always have that emergency and that urgent protection under that HMO.
Very good. So what would be, so you gave me a couple really good reasons why to choose the HMO. No referrals in network anymore, and hopefully you've selected a policy that has all your doctors in network, so that would alleviate that referral requirement. And usually the HMOs are a little bit more cost effective in terms of copays as well as maximum out of pocket. What would the reason that an individual might go the other direction and elect the PPO instead?
Yeah, I think that for folks that, you know, maybe they do some extensive traveling, maybe they spend 3 months in Florida or California or something like that, go visit the grandkids or something, or maybe they just want kind of like that peace of mind that no matter where they are in the state or in the country, they know that they are going to have coverage because you can use that coverage inside or outside of the network. So for folks that are more mobile, I would think a PPO would be better for them. Do keep in mind, though, with the PPO, you're going to have higher max out of pockets. Okay, so you're looking at $2,800 for an HMO for next year, $3,900 to $4,500 for a PPO for next year, and keep in mind, if you use your PPO out of network, you're going to be paying up to 45% of that coinsurance.
Got ya. So whatever the Medicare approved cost of the procedure visit or medical issue that you had, you're going to probably pay about 45% of that versus a defined copay. Oh, we have Skip on the line. He's got a Medicare question. Good morning, Skip.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are y'all today?
Doing wonderful.
Are you local or semi-local this morning?
South, let's just say.
Oh, nice. All right. Enjoying the water.
Sunshine.
Beautiful.
So I have a unique situation developing here with regard to health care. As you know, I'm still working. One day I will retire. But at this point in time,
Liar.
At this point in time, at this point in time, I know our health care, which is with the major carrier in town, will probably change somewhat, which will probably mean more out of pocket that I'll be paying for my wife and myself, and probably a little less coverage with regard to the standard coverage that we experience. So I'm giving some thought to actually bowing out of our company plan and going full tilt into a Medicare program. And I know probably I'll need to come in and talk with Frank and everybody about this, but I'm just wondering, you know, basically standard thoughts about this is as far as moving from a company-based service to Medicare at my age, which is 69, and my wife's age is 68.
Oh, I'm not going to tell her you said that on the air, man.
Frank's not, he's never retiring. He's just a liar.
You mean Skip is never retiring?
No,
well,
he
Frank
isn't.
is never leaving us either, but
You know what? I think this is curious because really there's a couple of criteria we have to look at. First of all is we look at your plan, and we also find out, hey, are you actually, how many copays do you have per year? Who are the physicians you're seeing? Are you actually satisfying your deductible because you're having surgeries or therapies or whatever that's going on? And we have to remember that money that your employer is subsidizing part of it, maybe all of it, and you're paying a portion of it, and you're also doing that pre-tax for yourself and for your wife under a cafeteria plan. So the costs are really less than you think, okay, on a dollar point of view. We have to look at that and then compare the fact that, hey, you got to pick up Part B, and you've got to pick up an Advantage plan, assuming that you were, you know, again, where you're accessing your care would also determine whether, and we assume a Medicare Advantage plan would work for you. If it would, we got to look at the out pockets again. The same, and like Frank's going to do the analysis. What are your drugs? How many times are you visiting the physicians, etc. So that would be, I think that's a pretty good framework, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. I think
how you look at it?
You answered that very well. Absolutely. We're going to tally up all those costs, your deductibles, your monthly premium, your co-pays, your max out of pocket under your current plan, and we're just going to compare that side by side to Medicare. And like Jeff said, you're going to get a Part B for Medicare, $170.10 a month, and then either a Medicare Advantage plan where you don't pay anything monthly and you just make co-pays as you have to use your plan, or a Medicare supplement, like a Plan G, $150, $233 deductible.
So there's going to be a little analysis here before we can really make a determination about specifically, but I think it's, and Skip brought up a good point that I joked about, which is in his particular situation, because both himself and his spouse are Medicare eligible, that makes the numbers a little bit easier to work with, because we know that both spouses would be eligible for Medicare, which is significantly less expensive than COBRA most of the time, or an individual health insurance policy that we'd have to secure for the spouse that doesn't have coverage.
And also those Part B premiums, because you're paying for them through your Social Security benefits if you're receiving your Social Security.
Exactly.
Or you're sending them a quarterly check. Those are after tax.
Versus pre-tax from your employers, from your payroll deduction. But I think we should take our second break of the hour.
We should definitely do that. We're going to come back. It'll be a shorty until we go into hour number 2. I'm Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach.
Marin Lapidus, the retirement coach.
Hey, ladies, ready to order appetizers?
I don't think I should. I'm trying to cut back on spending lately.
Didn't you download that Upside app I told you about? The one that gets you cash back.
Huh? No, I didn't. Is it really worth it?
Yes, because of cash back from Upside, I haven't had to cut back, even with prices getting extremely high lately.
Wow. And what do you get cash back on again?
You get money back on gas, groceries, and it works at restaurants. Look, I'd get 37% cash back on this meal, including on drinks and apps.
All right, I'm sold. You order the apps, I'm buying and getting the cash back on Upside.
Oh no, I've created a monster.
Download the free Upside app and use promo code APPS for an extra $10 on your first purchase of $10 or more. That's promo code APPS for an extra $10 on the free Upside app. Remember, use promo code APPS for an extra $10 on your first purchase. Don't cut back. Get cash back with the free app from Upside.
In Town and Country, there is a community located on 21 beautiful rolling acres, making it hard to believe it's a retirement community. It's Marie de Villa, offering a wide variety of senior living options. They've enjoyed consistent management and ownership. Explore all of the amenities that Marie de Villa offers by going online to mariedevilla.com or call 636-227-5347. Marie de Villa has it all.
Hey, the Carney Show on Tuesday gets out and about, and I know you're not supposed to talk with your mouth full, but how can I not? We'll be at Santa Fe Bistro in Creve Coeur on Olive, just west of 270. And they've got pozole, they've got ahi bowls, they've got Cuban sandwiches, and I only have 3 hours to eat it. Talk to you. So come join us for the live broadcast. Julie will be out, but we'll still be thrilled to see you. That's Santa Fe Bistro in Creve Coeur, Tuesday on The Carney Show.
This is Erin Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email at aaron@jblfinancial.com to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
Now, back to Straight Talk on Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are Jeff and Erin Lapidus.
Oh, yes, 9:54. We're closing up our first hour. We've got about 5 minutes left. Phone lines are open. We'd love to hear from you. Frank Ellis, our Medicare insurance expert and enroller and good-looking guy, is here in the station. We'd love to hear from you. 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line. And naturally, he's going to be back next week, and really for the next 9 weeks, to talk about different aspects of Medicare. And again, do like we did today, which is tell a story. What's happening in this area and what we can do for you. I did want to make a point. We do have a couple minutes left, and while we're waiting for your text. I chime in on these subjects all the time because I am a licensed health insurance agent. Have been for 40 years.
They have health insurance then.
Yeah, that's what helped put you through college, right? with 100 companies that I had and we still have, as you know, we still have a fair number of employer plans, and we do consult with them on the health insurance side. But I made the decision because I was lazy, wanting to become the retirement coach, not to continue on for the additional education that it takes to become a person that is able to arrange Medicare Advantage plans. And folks don't know this, and I just wanted you guys to take a couple minutes. This isn't 10 minutes and you get approved. It isn't the additional education and time you have to put in here isn't sending a check in the mail. It's a lot more than that, isn't it, babe?
It really is, because Medicare considers its enrollees a protected class, and they need not only protections, but individuals that are well-versed in not only Medicare regulations, but the plan's rules to be selling these products to people over the age of 65 in most cases. So every year, not only do we have to recertify with the Center for Medicare Services, which is the government, but we also have...
that's a
good 2.5 hours testing time, everything from what are the pieces of Medicare to what are the specific rules to what are our boundaries in terms of how we can market and what we can talk about, and the way that we can talk about these plans. So there are a lot of important pieces for us to be refreshed on every year. And then each of the carriers requires that not only you go through what they call a product training, because the plans change every year, but they also invite you out to hear specifically about their perspective on the markets, about their plans. And Frank took on the additional task this year of, he had his CMS or his Medicare certification. He had all the plan testing to do before he got to go and listen to all of the new updates.
I think he thought that they were offering whiskey.
Well, I mean, they do take you to
maybe
nice,
not
fun
whiskey,
spots.
beer, maybe.
Right.
But you didn't get it. But you didn't get any of that either, did you?
It's only October 1st. Talk to him on December 7th, and then we'll see if he wants whiskey or beer.
Well, they do usually bring it to us. Fortunately, because of our listeners, who are our clients, and they have become our clients, and as well as their friends. We're one of the most productive offices in the state of Missouri for helping folks enroll with all the major carriers.
And, I think there's a few reasons for that. When you come in and see us, we're going to have a personalized coaching session with you. Frank's going to know your physicians and your prescriptions. So he's going to be able to show you plans that help you keep your physicians and cover your prescriptions as well as possible. Also cover anything else that you might have going on that you need a little extra help with, if it's possible. And then we're going to be there through the enrollment process. And we're also going to be there every renewal to send you an update, which is going to be going out in the next couple of days about your plan, our thoughts. Should you make a change, or are you good where you are? So we try to be a participant in all parts of that service for you.
And actually make it fun.
We try.
etc. Because this is one of the most critical, nerve-wracking, if you want to call it, decisions that folks have to make. I mean, a lot of people, the majority of people are actually choosing their own health care plan for themselves for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to do it right, and you want to stay within the rules, and there are guidelines, and there are time limits, and there are penalties, and there's all this kind of stuff. And it's really nice to have a coach, have someone that can help you navigate through this and
keep you on track.
Keep you on track so that you have the right plan. And then, as Aaron was saying, proactively saying, hey, you're in the place you should be, or you know what, it's time to move. And I'm getting the feeling that there are some folks this year, majority of our clients probably won't be moving, but many of them, we're probably going to say, hey, it's time to move. And and this is no muss and it's no fuss.
That's right. Just Frank.
Just like it's so easy to keep your tuned in here to the Big 550 KTRS, because we are going to be going for our number 2. I'm Jeff Peters, the retirement coach.
We'll be right back.
This is KTRS St. Louis, the Big 550, and KTRS.com.
From ABC News, I'm Brian Clark. More than 1.2 million power outages persist in Florida, but it is the devastating toll of Hurricane Ian that is still coming into focus. At least 33 people have died, says ABC's Justin Finch in Venice.
Ian, now the deadliest storm to strike the state in 60 years. Coast Guard helicopters scooping up survivors from once picturesque Sanibel Island, now cut off from the mainland. Its causeway ripped apart by Ian. The storm sparking a 1-in-1,000-year flooding event.
Ian now bringing heavy rain towards parts of the mid-Atlantic region of the country after it made landfall for a fourth time over South Carolina as a Category 1 storm on Friday. Russian troops have withdrawn from the Ukrainian city of Liman after it was surrounded by Ukrainian forces. That's in an area of Ukraine that's been annexed by Russian forces. In a speech Friday, Russian President Vladimir Putin again made threats to use nuclear weapons.
Despite what the White House calls Russian saber-rattling on its nuclear threats against Ukraine,
we do not presently see indications about the imminent use of nuclear weapons. We are, of course, monitoring that carefully and staying in close consultation with allies and partners.
National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan saying they've warned Russian officials of severe retaliation if President Putin orders a nuclear strike. Andy Field, ABC News, Washington.
Today in Las Vegas, a ceremony marking the deadliest mass shooting in modern American history.
5 years ago today, a heinous act of violence rained down on our city, our state, and our country.
It's Nevada Governor Stephen Sisolak speaking at the event marking the day 60 people were killed when a gunman opened fire on a country music festival. Guns, abortion, and the border all topics in the Texas gubernatorial debate that took place last night. You're listening to ABC News.
Attention all business owners who rent or lease space, including storage space. Stop wasting your money paying someone else for your space. You can now save a ton of money and own your own building with the incredible sale prices from General Steel. That's right, start saving money every month on renting space from others. Just call 877-25-STEEL to see how General Steel can help you save money. Our 50-year structural warranty buildings are custom designed for your needs and save you a ton of money. Call 877-25-STEEL.
Take it from a successful entrepreneur. If you need to expand or start a new business, you need General Steel.
Great team and the competitive pricing is the reason I went with General Steel.
Call 877-25-STEEL now, and you can get any of our popular quick construction structures, including a 40 by 60 foot building or a 50 by 100 clear span building, fast and easy. Call 877-25-STEEL. That's 877-257-8335. 877-25-STEEL.
The executive director of the NFL Players Association, DeMaurice Smith, is calling for more answers after Miami Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa suffered a head and neck injury in Thursday's game against the Bengals. The questions center on Sunday's game when Tagovailoa appeared to hit his head on the ground, but was eventually allowed to return to the game. Smith said there's a protocol for the process.
There is a neutral, unaffiliated traumatic consultant paid for by both the NFLPA and the National Football League. It's that person's call at the end of an analysis to make a decision about whether the person goes in.
And there is an investigation ongoing into Tagovailoa's return to that game. The team had later said he had suffered a back injury. Some U.S. health officials are saying monkeypox is not going away anytime soon.
The spread of monkeypox is slowing, but the virus is so widespread that elimination is unlikely, says the Federal Centers for Disease Control. It says monkeypox will probably be around for the next few years. The good news is the U.S. outbreak seems to have peaked in August, and the number of cases are about a third of what they were at the peak. The virus is mainly spread among gay and bisexual men, although health officials say anyone can get it. There's a vaccine. Chuck Sievertson, ABC.
Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints holding its biannual conference this weekend in Salt Lake City. Thousands expected to attend. It's also broadcast worldwide. This is ABC News.
I absolutely love my dog, but the constant shedding, not so much. But then I got a Swiffer Sweeper Pet Kit, and it is amazing. These super thick cloths pick up a crazy amount of hair. Just look at all that. And that was from just one swipe. And the best part? Sweeper's so much easier to maneuver than a broom or a vacuum, easily getting around chairs and under the couch. You're right. Now I can focus on you, not your shedding. Swiffer Sweeper Pet Kit, because shed happens.
Brian Clark, ABC News.
Let's talk about smart choices for your money. It's Straight Talk and Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Woo-hoo! Hour number 2, the hour of power. If you just woke up, we're here, back at our regular time, but we won't be next week, are we?
No, because...
They're making us go to 7 o'clock.
Correct. Mizzou football, but then the week after, if you want to continue to mark your calendars. Mizzou has a bye week, so we'll be back.
Bye-bye. Hopefully they'll play better.
Right, then they'll
Especially
be at
for
night.
all the Mizzou fans.
Right.
But again, welcome back to Straight Talk on Retirement. I'm Jeff Lapidus, a retirement coach. I'm joined by my very favorite oldest prodigal daughter, Aaron Lapidus, who is a fee-based financial planner, wealth manager, Medicare expert, and Robert Markham, our insurance life and annuity insurance specialist. That's great. And we had Frank Ellis, our Medicare specialist, here in the office. So,
We've got a lot of peeps.
It's kind of fun. We've got this team.
Right.
And they're here for you. And they're here to answer your questions. And more importantly, we have a webinar, which we talked a little bit about last hour. And we want to let folks know that are just tuned into us about.
That's right. We have a Medicare webinar on October 13th coming up, so in about 2 weeks. We did just send an email out yesterday to our newsletter recipients as well as clients. If you would like to join us, you just click that link, sign up, and we will send you the link to the webinar the day before on October 12th. If you'd like to sign up for the webinar, you can send a text to the KTRS text line 84126 right now, and we will add your email address if you could just text that to us to the list, or you can go to jblfinancial.com, click on the upper right hand corner, click contact us, let me know that you'd like to join the webinar, we'll get you on the list, or you can send me an email, aaron@jblfinancial.com. We'll get you on the list.
Yes, and it's so much fun because the insurance companies tend to talk about open enrollment because it is important. It's an important time of the year, but we're enrolling people every single month.
That's
that
right.
are becoming eligible for Medicare, and that's why we talk about it all the time, because understanding what the cost, first of all, finding a plan that makes sense for you is cost effective, has your docs, your medication, etc. is important. Understanding what the cost of that plan is, then integrating that into your financial plan, woohoo! You're going to feel a lot better about life. And that's easy to do. Just call us for a coaching session if you're 55 and older, 5 years to retirement, getting ready to retire, 314-863-0008, or go to our website, hit the contact us sessions, or send us an email.
I mean, two of the top three concerns that individuals have mentioned going into retirement is cash flow and healthcare expenses. And a lot of people do not see those two things linked together, but I think when you work with an investment advisor representative and a financial planner, when we plan out that cash flow, your insurance expenses, your day-to-day medical expenses, we're going to work that back into your plan in addition to those long-term care conversations, which are connected to Medicare, but really separate and apart because Medicare does not cover long-term care coverage. They cover you about 100 days in a facility, and we need to figure out how to make up that gap if there becomes one for you. So there are a few pieces to that concern about health insurance expenses in retirement. But I think with having such a great team of people to not only work on the cash flow side of things, but really work back in other expenses that you hadn't planned while you were working into that scenario will breed quite a bit of confidence for you.
You're so bright.
Thank you.
I called you daughter. 314-931-5877. We're live and we're local. 84126 on the text line. Before we get to some text, I do have since we reversed the show today, we didn't have Medicare. We had it in the first hour instead of the second hour. I want to talk a little bit about something that has really come up on our radar scope a lot. And frankly, 3 of the last 5 coaching sessions that we've had, some with prospective clients and some with existing clients, is about pensions.
That's right. And, some of these people, we already had game plans in place. We might be making changes to those plans.
And there are companies out here in the city, one of them being the largest beer manufacturer
in Europe
that is now owned by a company in Europe, but does have some very cool horses that they walk around called Clydesdales. They have a situation where they're getting ready to change the interest assumption in their pension plans, which will be reducing the value of a lump sum payout. And we're seeing this in other companies as well. So
this
before we get into a real story, I thought it was kind of important to, I don't know what do you want to take, I don't want to say take the clothes off of, but really to demystify what pension plans are and how they work. And I think that's important to do because, I like to describe a pension plan as a
pond.
A pond. And in many ponds, especially if not polluted, they have fish in the pond. And those are really, I think of those as the participants. Every single participant in that pond has a right to
swim around.
And really, if you think about it, they own a piece of that. They really are kind of the owners of that pond. And so your employer's making contributions to a retirement plan for you. We're talking about a pension again. Sometimes you do, very rarely, but sometimes you do make pension contributions, especially if you're a union person. And the idea is that at the time of your termination of employment, you are going to be choosing a monthly income payout for life. Now, that payout for life can be for you. If you're married, it could be with a spouse, etc. And the benefit that you're going to be receiving is usually based upon, it's a formula based upon a percentage of your annual pay times the number of years of service. And again, the benefit amount itself will be based upon that actuarially determined choice that you make. Payments are basically fixed in many cases. There are a few plans that have COLAs, cost of living adjustment riders, but that's really rare, and they're expensive. And we know that the payout of benefits under a pension end when the participants are dead, okay? And the pension plan absorbs the balance of the money. So, it's like anything else. It's called, the door's open, you're walking out the door, you're getting money, etc. while you're alive. At the time of your death, if you have a spouse, you've chosen an option which continues a portion of that income to your spouse. They'll get it, but after your spouse is gone, nothing's going to family members, whomever it might be, churches, charities, whoever it be. Generally, what we do is when we're asked to look at these payouts, if they're offered an option as a lump sum versus that payout, we're trying to figure, is it a good deal? And usually you can take this monthly benefit, work it backwards and say, hey, if the lump sum benefit isn't worth, 6% of, et cetera, the benefit, then what happens is that it's not a good deal, and so you should take the monthly income. Other cases, it makes sense to take the lump sum, but the rules are about to change. And the reason that the rules change is because a lump sum benefit is truly the present value of the stream of expected payments you're going to get over your lifetime, and if you have a spouse, that spouse's lifetime, actually are determined. Well, when interest rates rise, the pension plans are permitted to change their calculation of that lump sum. And what that means is that the actual amount of money goes down because it takes less money to fund a benefit based upon a higher interest internal rate of assumption. So
as interest rates continue to rise, we're probably going to continue to see more revisions to lump sum options.
And, this also creates a situation for the employer, because really the people that are going to be considering doing this are those that are older, closer to retirement age. This is a way for them to thin the herd if they want it.
Reduce their long-term liabilities because
for the pension plan,
right.
But also if they want to reduce their workforce, hey, we're going to try to make you an offer. And one that we recently saw is one that came from George. George is a client of ours. He's 59 years old, and he's turning 60 in July. So he actually hasn't hit 59 and a half yet. And that's kind of a magic. And that 59 and a half is a magic age in the Internal Revenue Code, especially when it comes to retirement plan distributions.
Right.
So we've already created his game plan. He's been a client for a year or so, and we were doing a review, and he said, "Oh, Jeff, by the way, this is what came up." So let's talk a little bit about some facts that occurred that is in his situation, and really kind of go through the decision-making process that he is going through, and we were doing this together.
So George let us know that today his pension lump sum benefit offer was $550,000.
Right.
So that's what he could take today. However, on December 1st, 2023, a year from now, essentially.
Yeah, I think I typoed that. I think it's actually 22.
Oh, I'm sorry. So just a mere few months from now.
Right.
George's new lump sum option will be $435,000. So he
about
has
a 20% reduction.
Right. So he has between today, or when we saw him a few days ago,
Right.
and just before December 1st to make the decision if he'd like to take that lump sum to get the higher amount.
So we're in Chinese fire drill phase, okay? Because he's got tons of questions, but let's give you a couple more facts. His current annual net income is about $60,000, or about $5,000 a month. And of course, as we were just talking about things with him, he's really consuming all that. So should he decide to retire, he's going to need. We've got to replace that $5,000 after tax, which, as we know, is really $6,000 on a pre-tax basis.
Right.
So he's got $550,000 today as a lump sum available to him in a pension plan, and also $1 million at this point, even though it's been reduced because of the markets, in his 401k plan. He does have a spouse. He does have children. It is his feeling, even before we had this thing, was that he wanted, if he could, have the opportunity to pass this asset, this pension asset, to his family members.
Sure.
So from the first point, from the go, it really wasn't he really didn't want to take the pension.
Right.
Now his real question is, if my lump sum is going down, that's what I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Is it time for me to hit the bricks?
And I think a really important part to mention, to add on to what you said, Dad, is that, George has been a client for a few years now, and we were really planning for retirement 4 years from now when he got to 63 years old. Obviously, this new piece of information is going to have us potentially adjusting his game plan, because a 20% reduction in a lump sum is pretty significant.
So let's talk about, and we just want to throw this out. There really were 5 key questions that came out, and we're going to address these and come back and address these. But certainly the first question was, do I have enough to retire today, 3 years in advance or 4 years in advance of what I was thinking? The second one is, since I'm not 59 and a half, and there's a gap period here of about 4 to 5 months, if I want to pull money from my retirement account and assets, I have to deal with this 59 and a half premature, if you want to call it, distribution penalty. How do we get around that?
Right.
Third one is, and this is what I think is the big one.
You're getting it sprung on you. Are you emotionally ready to retire?
Yeah, I mean, are you really ready to give it up? And are you going to go and do something else? And that really leads to the next question, which is, he isn't eligible to begin Social Security benefits until 62.
So does he take them or wait at this point?
What's our game plan? Are you going to go back to work? How much are you going to earn? Are we going to have to deal with the take back, etc.?
Also, it changes our trajectory, because we were thinking he's going to be 63 when he retired, meaning if we were putting off Social Security, it would have been for a much more protracted amount of time.
And then finally, do I elect the company retiree health plan, which they happen to have?
Or yet another man retiring and sending his wife to work?
Well, we don't know that he may decide to work, but the real question here is, does he take the retiree health plan or go on to his wife's health plan?
Because she is still working.
Exactly. So a lot of questions, and I thought that what we thought it was, at least for us, we think it's fun, is we now have an opportunity to kind of go back and look at this again. We obviously had looked at it for him, and we already created a game plan for 64.
But things have changed.
But now we have a kid for 59. So let's work through the numbers.
So we had already said that he needs about $6,000 a month gross in order to make his life work.
5,000 after tax, 20% mark up 6,000 pre-tax. We know that at 66, his Social Security, 67, his Social Security benefits would be $3,000 a month. So he, at that time, will need about $3,000 a month times 12 months, $36,000, and the lump sum of capital that he would need to have, we think that he would need to have.
To generate that $36,000 a year is about $900,000 of assets.
Right. But he needs more than that.
Right.
Because we now have created this hole.
This 6-year hole.
Exactly. In which case he isn't going to be eligible for Social Security, and we're assuming he's not taking it. But we got to get him $6,000 a month for 12 months, $72,000.
$72,000 a year for 6 years.
Which is $432,000. Now he needs $40.32, which he will in theory fully consume. He'll need $900
to maintain his
lifestyle. Once we turn on the Social Security faucet, he turns on the Social Security faucet. So between the two of those, he needs $1.32 million. However, the
great news is if he takes that lump sum option,
right,
and with his 401k savings, even with some of market depreciation, he has about $1.55 million.
So he's in the safety zone. So that's question number one. Question number two, okay. So he has to roll over his pension. He could put it into his 401k. That's one thing he could do. Or he could roll it into a self-directed IRA. But if he takes that 401k money and he rolls it into an IRA, he now becomes subject to the IRA distribution rules, which are different than the corporate retirement plan distribution rules, right, babe?
Right. So let's start with the easy one, which is the corporate retiree distribution rules. If George decides to leave his money inside of his 401k and retire, so you can no longer be a plan participant, you can pull money as much or as little as you'd like. If you're under 59 and a half, there's no penalty to you. However, you will pay taxes.
Well, you have to be at least 55.
Right, you have to be over 55. It's called the 55 and over rule. So between 55 and 59 and a half, you can take, like I said, as much or as little as you'd like. There's no rules except for that you will be paying taxes.
And, for him and for many of our clients, and we made this recommendation, I think, 3 times last week, is that it makes sense. Roll over the pension, have that money starting to grow. Leave your 401k with your current company. That's a cool idea. What happens is they're not paying us an advisory fee at this point because we're not managing those assets. We're certainly going to provide assistance, but he then has the flexibility of pulling money as he wants, weekly, monthly, quarterly, etc. He's still going to have to pay income taxes on that because it's a taxable distribution, but he bypassed the 10% rule, and when he hits 59 and a half,
free and clear. To roll the money over and then start making those distributions. But let's say that George was feeling the pressure. December 1st was right around the corner, so he already initiated these rollovers and he's sending the money to his IRA accounts right as we speak.
And we've had this happen before. Someone's come in and said, by the way, now the money's sitting in IRA. I don't know what to do with it. Can you help me? And it's like, I'm not 59 and a half. And it's like, you didn't really know that, did you?
But, Rob, there is one solution to this.
Absolutely. There's always a solution. Maybe just not ones we like, but in this case, this one is one we like. It's called 72T distribution rules. And basically what that allows for is you can take an equal substantial distribution, but you have to do this for 5 years or until you turn 59 and a half, whichever is later. So you very well could have a longer time period than 59 and a half, depending on when you start this.
Right. Or then the 5 years, depending upon when you start it. Very good. Yes.
Yeah. But there are a few catches here.
Right.
First thing is you don't get to choose. You can choose how much you want to take. However, the amount that you take is based upon a factor in an IRS table. So let's use an example here, which would be kind of fun. Let's just say that we had determined with our friend George that he wanted $2,000 per month, or about $24,000 a year, of we'll call it a fixed income base here. We could say, okay, George, let's take, because we know that the basic rate of distribution rate upon these 3 different methods of evaluation with the IRS on his age is, we'll call it 4%. So we know that if we were to say, let's take $480,000, about half of his IRA, of his 401k, split it into two pieces, right? Split it. One half we'll call the growth IRA, the other one will, and the separate assets, and we'll call that the 72T IRA. We could then make those distributions from that IRA for 5 years, and we're at least committed to do that, because if we don't, what happens, Rob?
If you don't, you have to pay the 10% penalty on everything you took.
That's right. So this could be very expensive. I mean, that's truly shooting yourself in the foot.
Right, because the IRS laid the rules out for you through the 72T. So as long as we stick to those, and your custodian, which is the bank that's holding your money, will set that distribution up and also properly mark it for you.
Well, I mean, if you don't, it's like, what are you, blind, dude? I mean, the rules are pretty easy. So in his case, he's got a little flexibility.
Sure.
You know, we've got this other $500,000 that's sitting in this, we'll call it the growth IRA. Once George hits 59 and a half, he can then pull money from that IRA penalty free, just as if the money was sitting in the 401k. So not necessarily a mistake, but maybe
it's a little more complicated.
It isn't really maybe the most optimal solution. And we've seen this before, so where would it maybe not be the best? Well, we were talking about this a little earlier. You know, George is in this, I don't know if he has tread left on his tires phase. What if in a year from now, after he's taken off, his wife, he comes downstairs one morning. His wife looks at him and said, "I'm sick of watching you being in bed every day. I've listened to Erin every Saturday. She hates when the wives work and the men don't.
More power to her.
Get out there and get a job." And let's assume that he does. And they determine, you know what, we only need the income.
Well, you gotta keep taking it.
That's right. Otherwise, you're going to pay a 10% penalty on all the money you've taken in the years before that, and you really aren't supposed to stop it. So that would be something you want to do.
You can change that formula one time over the 5 years.
Right. Thanks, Rob, for reminding us of that. And, you know, the other good thing about that is, I mean, honestly, the percentages aren't that much different. I mean, there's sort of one that's like one of the three is like the higher payout one versus the lower payout one.
And they all center about 4%.
Exactly. I mean, it's not even a 0.5% difference. So you can do that, and sometimes we've never done it before, but I had to change it, but it does make sense. So understanding that you do have options, and frankly, in the second case you talked about, not getting with a professional to say, "Hey, what am I allowed to do?" It really doesn't put you in the best position. So it's like my mom used to always say, you know what? When I went to school, she said, "If you have questions, ask. There are never any bad questions." What happens is you don't get smarter if you don't ask questions, and that's
Absolutely.
what you need to do. And I think that's important. But that was really kind of a good one. So, you know, question that answered question 2. Question 3, which is, am I emotionally ready to retire? You know, sometimes people aren't. You know, involuntarily.
And this feels a little involuntary, even though he's not being asked to leave. He is potentially looking at a 20% reduction in his retirement savings, so that might feel forced.
Right. And, you know, my follow-up question with him was, do you have a skill set that you feel is truly marketable? And B, do you want to really continue to do what your skill set is today? Tough things to answer. You know, he basically said, you know, I'm probably going to take 3 months off, think about things, test the waters, and then make some decisions. Because truthfully, that really leads us into the next question, which was, a couple years down the road, do I need to take, or should I be taking my Social Security benefit at that time? Or should I really try to put it off further to my normal retirement age 67? There's a lot of factors there. You know.
The great thing about Social Security is that we get to make that decision much closer to that time. You know, right now we're having to make a lump sum decision in the moment, but as we approach Social Security, like you said, Dad, a lot of things could change. He could have gone back to work, wants to go, you know, not going back to work. We could decide to wait, and also we don't have to wait from 62 all the way to 67.
Right.
There's every single day in between, depending upon the situation, to make that election.
And, you know, honey, I guess what's important for me is that you really said something that is, you know, it's just so true. All these decisions that we're making are in the moment. We don't know what the future's necessarily going to hold. A lot of people, I certainly do this myself, we make decisions based upon past experience, et cetera, and future expectations. Having someone there to help you.
A little what if.
That's right. Not only the what if, but also to say, hey, when this happens, this is how we might consider going.
Right.
Getting these phone calls to say, hey, I've got a decision. In this case, I've got to make a decision in literally 30 days. Right. This is a $100,000 decision. If you have an advisor, you're working with somebody, you better get to them to do yourself a service. If you don't, pretty easy, right?
That's right. You can always give us a call.
Pick up the phone, 314-863-0008. We're seeing these questions. We're helping people work through these problems, and everybody's different.
And the great thing is we're really seeing them across many different industries. Right. We've seen, like you said, beer manufacturer.
We have an insurance company. A major one.
Multiple, actually, insurance companies are doing this. We have a smaller property casualty versus a larger insurance company that's also offering this. So that means that it's possible, if you are a lucky individual that's had access to pension benefits, that this might be a decision that you're going to be making shortly.
And I don't like to predict things, but some of the biggest employers in this city, in this state, are the healthcare systems. They all have pensions.
Right.
And given an opportunity for them to reduce the funding liability that they have in these plans,
they're going to jump at the chance.
You better believe it. And I was going to say, I wouldn't be concerned necessarily about can they pay me, will they be able to pay me, because they have the money sitting there.
It's what you want. It's really what's going to make your retirement work, what you're going to be most comfortable with.
Right. And that's really why I'd asked him. I said, hey, talk to me about your skill set. Can you go and do what you want to do somewhere else, etc.? Can you get rehired? Who knows? It's just one of those deals. But he has some decision points to make. And then obviously the last one, which was important, was, do I elect my company's retiree health plan or go to my wife's plan? And we talked about a little bit about the last one. It's an algebra problem. What are your deductibles? How much of them are you satisfying each year?
Well, and George was very prompt in sending his information back, and also his wife's information to me, so I could do a quick comparison of retiree plan versus
from a benefit perspective.
From a benefit as well as a cost perspective. And we had made the assumption, given the caveat of information on the way, that most likely George would be joining his wife's policy, and that's really how it worked out for them. And the great thing is they still get to take advantage of his wife's benefits, which means that depending upon when she decides to retire, they're both going to have access to COBRA options that could extend the time before they get to Medicare. So we might be able to have a much more efficient bridge from his wife's retirement to Medicare eligibility, depending upon when her retirement is.
And making this decision, it wasn't only premiums and co-pays and pre-tax, after-tax, but how much are they using the plan?
Sure.
Realistically, and what's that going to look like, and how is it going to feel going from plan A to plan B?
The cool thing for them was the most expensive option on his wife's coverage, because she was lucky enough to have several choices. Not all employers do that. Was less expensive than the least expensive option with the retiree coverage. So really they're going to be able to enhance their coverage.
And again, we haven't even talked about the fact that, this retiree coverage is an after-tax
expense versus
pre-tax under a cafeteria plan, which would happen with his wife. So, there's a lot of this stuff that you have to think about. And frankly, for us, this is fun. We're unpeeling the onion. We're getting to the essence of what we need to do. And it's just fun to be able to check off these boxes, as we're going along and say, okay, now we can make our transition. And, I know that in this particular case, George, he's
got decisions to make.
He has decisions to make. And he made it pretty clear to me that if I can feel comfortable about these boxes being checked in the way that they are,
pulling
I'm out of this dump, and that's not unusual.
Right. I think we should take our first break of our second hour.
I think I agree that whatever you say. So we'll be back right after these messages.
A message for homeowners. Are you thinking of selling your fixer-upper home? Did you get a bid from the home improvement company yet? Wow, material and labor shortages mean lengthy wait times and exorbitant cost. Why bother when I'm paying top dollar right now for homes in any condition? Hi, this is Mike Robinson. I can make you a cash offer with no contingencies for your home or condo. Just call me, Mike Robinson, at 314-283-0867. That's Mike Robinson, 314-283-0867, or visit us at robangproperties.com.
Need to know more? Take it from Nancy of Maplewood.
The whole process was stress-free and with no unexpected surprises. Mike went above and beyond to make sure the entire experience went smoothly. And their A-plus Better Business Bureau rating and 5-star Google rating gave me peace of mind.
Or how about Larry in St. Louis County?
Selling our home to Mike was accomplished quickly and professionally. The whole process allowed us to move and not have to hassle with listing our property for a long time and getting everything done to close our new home.
Robang Properties, 314-283-0867.
Research shows listeners prefer a personalized experience. So to help you remember, Liberty Mutual customizes your home insurance. We personalized this ad for Amber, who really misses boy bands from the 90s.
Hey girl, I'm the cute one, here to tell you how Liberty Mutual customizes your home insurance so you only pay for what you need.
I'm the heartthrob. The only thing I love more than you is saving. And I'm the other boy in the band everyone forgot about.
Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
The Big 550 KTRS is proud to welcome two new voices to our sports family, Steve Schlanger and Tim Reeve with Indirect.
We'll cover the world's top leagues and talk to some of the game's best players. It's a brand new soccer show for St. Louis. Plus, we've got your phone calls, texts, even TikTok.
Are we really going to do TikTok?
All right, make sure you join us, Tim and me, each week for Indirect.
Coming soon every Thursday night at 7
on your home for soccer in St. Louis.
The Big 550 KTRS.
This is Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, that you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email, jeff@jblfinancial.com, to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
Let's talk about smart choices for your money. It's Straight Talk and Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
That's right. We're back here on the Big 550 KTRS Talk Radio St. Louis. I'm Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach, co-host with my favorite, brilliant, oldest, prodigal daughter, Aaron Lapidus.
What do you need, a ride home or something?
I was going to ask for a day off, but it's okay.
We'll take a look at your current PTO.
Well, I thank you. I appreciate that.
No problem.
It's been fun. We've got about 20 minutes left on the show. We do have a couple of other stories we'd like to relate, but we do want to remind you that our phone lines are open. We'd love to hear from you, 931-5877 or 84126 from, reasonably busy text line.
Yeah, we still have a few to get back to at the end. Circle back.
Mom.
What about Mom?
Well,
she did not text anything.
I didn't mean your mom. Okay.
Oh.
But what I was saying is, many of our clients, because they're grown-ups, i.e. my age, still have moms, sometimes dads, and sometimes people pass away. And they're coming and saying, Jeff, help me to help my mom. And we did have one this week. Mike came in and visited with us for a coaching session.
Boeing engineer, early 50s, nice guy. Married, has a couple of kids. One just started college. The other is just about to start high school. And Michael wanted to get some advice about an annuity that was left to his mother after his father recently passed.
Not unusual.
Mom's gotten up there in years, and Mike is helping get the finances in order, and just didn't know what they should do with this fixed annuity that Dad had.
Well, I was going to say, and this isn't unusual because what happens is with many folks, a lot of folks purchased fixed annuities with after-tax money because they don't want to pay. Well, one of the allures of this is that the interest grows income tax deferred until they decide when they want to take the money out. Right, Rob?
Absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about Dad's annuity.
His dad's annuity is worth just over $150,000. He had originally invested $50,000, and over the years it had accumulated about $50,000 in interest. The contract was currently crediting 1% interest, and Mom didn't need the income, nor did she want to pay the taxes on the interest.
Well, and I'm sure that's why he called us, because 1% is about as exciting as Grandma's meatloaf. Okay.
What? I thought you were going to see I thought you were going to say a CD or something.
No, I mean, well, we call those certificates of impression right now. But Rob, are there other options for her to consider?
Yes, there are. In this,
I knew you would say that.
In this case, I suggested that we use the spousal continuation option inside the contract, and that essentially makes Mom the new owner.
And that's only available for spouses, right?
Correct. This is something that's set up in the tax code for married couples. And after she becomes a new owner, we then can complete a Section 1035 tax-free exchange to a new annuity contract.
You're a tricky guy.
Yeah.
Tricky.
So what we had, so instead of surrendering the contract, Mom could take over as the annuitant, and then I'm assuming, because you're telling me, what you were able to do then is if you can find another company that can offer a better fixed interest rate to Mom, she could move and do that without paying income taxes.
That's exactly what the game plan I thought was best. And doing it solves a couple of issues. First, the contract continues to grow, tax deferred. And secondly, the new contract is crediting 4.3% annually, which, by the way, was just raised from 4.05. So that's great.
That's an official. Woohoo!
That is an official. But just keep in mind, like, we're hearing rates are going up now. When we first heard about the original 4% rates, which were true for many of the fixed annuity companies.
About 6 weeks ago.
Right. It's been about 3 months now almost, if you can believe. It's taken almost 2.5% rate increases from the Federal Reserve to get 0.25% increase in these contracts. So if you're someone that is looking at something like this, you're interested, you probably don't want to wait just because you know that interest rates are rising. These crediting strategies don't rise as quickly as rate increases.
Well, I mean, to get real on this situation, if the annuity contract today is worth $100,000 and you've raised the interest rate crediting rate from 1 to 4.3%.
Well, that's incredible.
I mean, we're looking at 4 times increase, $1,000 a year of interest guaranteed versus contractually by the insurance company versus $4,350. Are you kidding me? And then you're still not paying taxes on that money until you decide you want to pull it out. What a win. I mean, what a possibility for a win. I mean, but there are always conditions, right, Rob?
Well, yes. And, Mike thought his mom would love the idea, but he had an interesting little segue is, can we add money to this contract?
So not only did he like the idea, but he liked it so much he might want to put a little bit of extra in.
He, that once we got that 1% up past 4, he was very interested, and we thought his mom would be.
Mm-hmm.
And he explained that his mom had about $50,000 in savings that wasn't doing much, and this was above and beyond her liquid safe money needs.
That's real important because we know that when we give money to an insurance company under any circumstances, we have liquidity restrictions. You can only pull out certain amounts without penalty, etc. So by creating a new contract,
we can add new money at the time of issue into the contract.
And most of these contracts, like the one we're talking about, once she initiates this and the money gets in, it's called a single premium deferred annuity. So you can't add money after the date of issue. So doing it now is the time to do it. as compared to, and really administrative makes it easier than stacking contracts. I mean, there's no point breaks, there's no additional interest that's being earned here, but administratively, it certainly makes it easier.
And also, when you're working with someone like Rob, he can make that transition easy because you can do both transactions at the same time, doing that 1035 exchange, and then also adding that additional money by either, it sounds like mom has money in a savings account, so she might be writing a check to the insurance company, or if she had another investment account, we could have Rob directly transfer it to the insurance company.
Well, Rob, obviously, Mike's mom, with a new contract, has new restrictions.
Absolutely. And, I explained that, mom's going to have a new 5-year surrender period under the new contract. But on the other side of that, she would be able to have a 10% withdrawal corridor that could be used if needed. So she could pull 10% of the contract every year. The money withdrawn, however, would be interest first. So that first $50,000 or any interest that is above and beyond would be what's coming out first.
So that would be taxable.
Yeah.
Correct.
So going back to, I don't know, I use a lot of, as you know, I use a lot of glass
Up
analogies.
your glass this time.
Okay, a brew. With an annuity contract, what happens is that if you consider a beer stein, whatever it is, you're pouring your capital in. Okay, you're pouring that first $50,000, and what happens is that the interest is accruing income tax deferred, not free, but deferred. In this case, we got to the end of the surrender period. Interest rates were lower. Rob found a different alternative. We took it from one beer stein. We poured it over, but not quite. When Mom went to add some more money to it, it got added to the bottom of the glass. The interest portion still is at the top of the glass, and the IRS says we have to pour the interest portion out first before we can get to the principal.
So you got to pay taxes on the money first.
And what's nice, again, is Rob, you mentioned, is that there is a withdrawal privilege.
Yes.
10% of what you put in this case, we'll call it, let's say, $150,000. She could pull $15,000 a year, but again, it's going to be $15,000 of interest per year until she exhausts that and gets back, and then gets into the principal part.
And for all of our very clever listeners, this is not an asset that has a step up in basis at mom's passing.
Yes.
So Mike is going to be responsible for the taxes at mom's passing if mom doesn't pay the taxes herself by using that 10% withdrawal.
Right. So, and Robin, I know that this isn't something that was a significant discussion with Mike during the meeting, but if Mike decided, and Mom agreed, that they wanted to try to mitigate the taxes, surrendering the contract and paying all the money on the tax up front really wasn't something they wanted to do. They do have another option, right? Couldn't they also pick a period certain annuity, let's say like a 10-year certain?
Yeah, absolutely. There are settlement options at the flip side of the contract, and one of them is the 10-year certain, where you'd be getting paid out over 10 years to a period certain.
And at that point also, if I'm correct, what's happening is that each payment would be part principal and part interest instead of it being all interest first.
Right.
So that's one way of spreading that risk. They call that an exclusion ratio, and that's something, as you can imagine, kind of nice. The insurance company negotiated this into the insurance companies negotiated this in, or I should say the congressman, et cetera, in the Internal Revenue Code. It was kind of a cool thing to do. So
rather than paying the taxes up front and move it, to go and spread it out over 10 years certainly would be preferable for a lot of people.
So there's lots of options that are available in these contracts, and I guess like anything else, knowing the rules puts you in a position where you can hopefully get better results. And this thing with non-qualified annuities, non-IRA owned annuities, or et cetera, it's so common. You know, I've got 10,000, or I inherited something from mom or dad. You know, I don't need the cash. I'd like it to grow. And oh, by the way, would you like to not earn it, have to pay taxes on the interest until you feel like it? Because the IRS doesn't have rules that says you have to start taking that interest. The insurance company does. It's called at 95. You have to start. You have to
doing something with the contract.
But until then, and so a lot of people do these. But what they really do, as you really pointed out very well, honey, is they create a tax trap literally for their beneficiaries, because the beneficiaries don't have those same options when they inherit the contract.
Well,
They
also
can't
just-
become the new annuitants.
And also, just think of Mike's mom. We accelerated the interest accumulation inside of her
So you're creating
new
a
annuity
bigger
by
tax trap.
exactly. She's got 4.3% interest accruing every year now versus 1. So we're just adding to that taxable amount, which is great because it's still more money for mom.
It's like we gave mom a jalapeno pepper. Oh my God!
On that note, we need to take our last break of the hour.
I'm spicy, Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach.
I'm Aaron Lapidus, the retirement coach.
And I'm Robert Markham, your insurance specialist.
Don't you dare touch that dial. We'll be right back.
Hey, ladies, ready to order appetizers?
I don't think I should. I'm trying to cut back on spending lately.
Didn't you download that Upside app I told you about? The one that gets you cash back.
Oh, no, I didn't. Is it really worth it?
Yes, because of cash back from Upside, I haven't had to cut back, even with prices getting extremely high lately.
Wow. And what do you get cash back on again?
You get money back on gas, groceries, and it works at restaurants. Look, I'd get 37% cash back on this meal, including on drinks and apps.
All right, I'm sold. You order the apps, I'm buying and getting the cash back on Upside.
Oh no, I've created a monster.
Download the free Upside app and use promo code APPS for an extra $10 on your first purchase of $10 or more. That's promo code APPS for an extra $10 on the free Upside app. Remember, use promo code APPS for an extra $10 on your first purchase. Don't cut back. Get cash back with the free app from Upside.
My dad has a cold, but also has high blood pressure. That's why I got him Vicks DayQuil High Blood Pressure for max strength daytime relief. Unlike some ordinary cold medicines, it's specially formulated for people like my dad. DayQuil High Blood Pressure is sugar-free, alcohol-free, and decongestant-free.
Vicks DayQuil High Blood Pressure. The daytime, non-drowsy, coughing, aching, fever, sore throat, cold, and flu for people with high blood pressure.
Like my dad.
Hey, the Carney Show on Tuesday gets out and about, and I know you're not supposed to talk with your mouth full, but how can I not? We'll be at Santa Fe Bistro in Creve Coeur on Olive, just west of 270. And they've got pozole, they've got ahi bowls, they've got Cuban sandwiches, and I only have 3 hours to eat it. Talk to you. So come join us for the live broadcast. Julie will be out, but we'll still be thrilled to see you. That's Santa Fe Bistro in Creve Coeur, Tuesday on The Carney Show.
This is Aaron Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email at aaron@jblfinancial.com to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
Now, back to Straight Talk on Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Okay.
You ready?
No, I'm listening.
Okay, let's listen.
Mom's appreciating that.
Is this like an ode to mom every time it plays?
6 minutes left in the show. We'd love to hear from you. 931-587-784-126 from the text line. Join the fun.
Hi, Jeff and Aaron. That was from the text line.
Hi, texter.
Do you have to take money, or do you have to take an RMD out of your 401k plan?
Yes, if you're old enough.
Well, it
70 and a half.
depends.
72.
It's 72 now, but it also depends on your 401k plan and your position therein. If you're a majority owner of a company and you participate in a 401k plan, you're 72 and still a participant, you have to take the required minimum distribution. Some 401k plans do not require just participants that have turned 72 that are still actively employed to take the required minimum distribution. But leaving your 401k at your 401k, being retired and 72 does not exclude that money from the required minimum distribution. You got to take it.
I'm glad you work with me.
Well,
You know all that. You know all this. You know lots of stuff.
But the really cool thing is it's a really nice crossover from your original business, which was working with small businesses in St. Louis to create their employee benefits and their retirement plans, because we still have several different companies of all sizes and different retirement plans. So we work with the owners, they have different rules than the participants do for some of these 401k plans. So it's given us the opportunity to really expand our knowledge on those things.
Good question.
Great question. Now, I think we need to get back to some of these Medicare questions.
If you persist.
I would love to.
Okay.
Morning, y'all. I like that. Good morning. I have discussed with Frank that I have a new doctor and will be looking at different diabetic medications. Can I gain access to the new tiers so we can decide which may be more cost effective? I think this is the perfect opportunity for you to give our office a call, 314-863-0008, and have a coaching session set up with Frank. He's more than happy to do that by phone, Zoom, or in office. And since it sounds like you already have a relationship with him, it should be a quick and easy conversation.
Yeah, and if you want to really make your time valuable, go to our website, jblfinancial.com, hit the Contact Us section.
Right.
Send the information over first so Frank so Kelly
Unless
can
he's
call
already
you.
got it.
Right. So if you don't, then Kelly can call you and set up a time to visit with Frank. It's great.
Absolutely.
Which you can do by phone. You can do it by Zoom. You can do it in person. We'd love to see you. We got a nice new building, parking lot. Woohoo! Best coffee in town.
And then you get to know everyone on the team, really.
And you got me, the former Kmart greeter, and I'll be there. And
Yeah, he wanders about.
There you go.
Could you give an example of when a person might consider moving from an Advantage plan to a straight Medicare plan with add-ons? I'm thinking. Yes, I can think of an example. We've had a few clients that after retirement, they started out in St. Louis or the metro area and they decided to move to another state, usually to be around grandchildren or other family members.
Grandchildren!
And the
You didn't have to say that today.
One of the many, I'm just pushing right past that. One of the many blessings that we have living in St. Louis is we have excellent health care and we have excellent health plans available to us, which means our Medicare Advantage plans are some of the most competitive in the country if you look across what the other options are in other states. So that means if you happen to select a state or a county where your Medicare Advantage plan is not as robust as you're used to, you have a special election to elect original Medicare again without any medical underwriting, and you'll have access to those supplemental policies. Usually they are the lettered policies people consider Plan G, Plan N, Plan L.
You don't have to wait, babe, though, do you? Once you've moved and established residency, you don't have to wait till open enrollment.
No, you have your own window of opportunity that begins when you declare residency in your new state, because there's a little confusion here that we've dealt with other clients, which is you have 3 months to make a new choice as to what supplement or Medicare Advantage plan you would like if you leave your current service area. But your current plan is going to drop you by the end of the month. So you have 3 months to enroll in something else, but you're going to create a gap for yourself, and there is no penalty or issue with the gap except for that you have no health insurance except for Medicare Part A and B.
Not good.
Right, but that is confusing for people that are making transitions. So you really want to notify the insurance company at the time that you are ready to make your transition, because you want to have picked something else to move to.
Or if you're one of our clients, you're going to call Frank.
Yes,
you're
and he's going to help.
Exactly, and say, hey, this is what's happening, and what do I have to do? And what the nice part is that we'll let you know where the bumps are.
What the timelines are, how to get everything lined up correctly.
We'll talk you through. We'll make sure that it happens seamlessly. And that's what coaching sessions are all about. We'd love to see you. We'd love to hear from you. Give us a call, 314-863-0008. Again, 314-863-0008. Or you can always send us an email or go to our website, jblfinancial.com. opinions voiced in this show are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, and financial advisor or tax advisor prior to investing. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Private Advisor Group, a registered investment advisor. Private Advisor Group and JBL Financial Services, Inc. are separate entities from LPL Financial.
Be listening next week at 9 for more Straight Talk on Retirement with your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus, on the Big 550 KTRS.